Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Chavinsky is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace. He's got a tremendously good topic this evening, as he always does. He always has a good one for us. It's a good one coming up on the first of the year and has something that's really of value to everybody, and especially consultants. We spend every day 10 seconds being grateful. So think of three things today that made you grateful. Go. Nothing like being grateful. You can't be unhappy when you're grateful. There's no two ways about it. Want to talk this evening about a situation that came up with a candidate of mine uh, last week, and I can't overemphasize this. And it has to do with enthusiasm in an interview. Everybody has a tendency to think that everybody knows to be enthusiastic in an interview. Not everybody does. I had an excellent candidate that had 3 solid years of experience in exactly what the company wanted. 10 years previous to that in um, uh, a secondary skill that the company was interested in. They loved his background. The vice president of the company had interviewed the guy and was thrilled with him and passed him along to the COO. The COO got him on the phone, and the candidate just went plain flat. The candidate even asked, well, what do you want out of this endeavor? What do you want out of this interview? The candidate didn't know that what he wanted to know was, what can you do for me? What can you do for our company? There was no enthusiasm, no assertiveness, no exhilaration, nothing. It was flat. The vice president got back to me and said, we should hire this guy. We've been looking for 6 or 7 months, but he was so flat that the COO couldn't believe it. And so we're not going to hire him. I can't believe it. But it was just, he, on paper, his skills are absolutely fantastic. There's no reason in the whole world that we shouldn't hire this guy. But he was so flat in the interview, I couldn't even believe it. In fact, it was a video interview, and the COO had recorded it. So the vice president said, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have known that this guy was flat as a pancake. He answered questions yes and no, and let me think. And it was just plain flat. And he gave no enthusiasm at all for the job he'd done, for the work he'd done in the past, for anything along that line. And there was no excitement. So the COO thought the guy just not interested in the job, where he was very interested. The candidate's been looking for darn near 6 weeks. We only had 2 interviews that whole time. This was the second one, the second group, and he was interested in it. Was a good opportunity. the vice president that covered all of the stuff with him about it. It was a good deal. When I got back to the candidate, he said, well, I guess I was a little flat. I thought it was kind of a done deal in talking to the vice president. We had talked about the duties, the responsibilities, everything. We talked about money. We talked about everything along that line. I didn't think there was anything to talk about. I said, well, didn't you realize that you had to sell the COO on you, on why they should hire you? Well, yeah, I guess I did, but I thought it was a pretty well done. You're a salesman, for goodness sakes. You need to know what enthusiasm. Where did it go? Well, I guess I just didn't have a lot of enthusiasm for the thing, and I just didn't do what I should have done. Gee whiz, do you think you'd give me another shot at it? No. Well, a wise man learns by mistakes, and wiser man learns by other people's mistakes. You can't go into an interview and not have enthusiasm. That doesn't mean you have to be Chuckles a clown, have to jump, bounce up and down, and be ridiculously enthusiastic. It doesn't mean that at all. But you need to show some passion, some enthusiasm. And there was none there. The vice president was just mad. He was just so fierce because they've been looking for so long to hire this guy. And he was perfect for the job. Enthusiasm and passion sell. They sell, come along, they make up for a lot of everything. So when you get into interviews, you need to be emphatic. You need to be passionate. You need to be enthusiastic. And you have to concentrate on it, especially if you're not necessarily an automatically enthusiastic person. I've worked with this guy before, and I've never known him to be not enthusiastic. He seemed to be good. We're not getting a second chance. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashar with the Job Search Solution.